Hi everyone, and welcome to our video where we'll be diving into the second round of the nature versus nurture debate in psychopathy and criminality. These two terms that is often misunderstood and misrepresented in popular media. While the two terms are often used interchangeably, they are distinct concepts that require separate examination. We'll be exploring how genetics and environmental factors contribute to these issues and how this can inform us on possible solutions. To start off, let me share with you a story. A few years ago, I met a young man who was incarcerated for violent crimes. I'll call him John. John grew up in a difficult environment, surrounded by poverty, abuse, and neglect. He had a history of behavioral problems since childhood and struggled with impulse control. At first glance, John seemed like a textbook example of how nurture could lead to criminality. However, as I got to know him better, I began to suspect that there was more to the story. John displayed some of the classic traits of psychopathy, such as a lack of empathy and remorse. This got me thinking, what exactly is the relationship between psychopathy and criminality? Is it solely a product of one's environment, or is there a genetic component? Let's find out. First, let's define what we mean by psychopathy. Psychopathy is a personality disorder characterized by a lack of empathy and remorse, superficial charm, and a tendency to manipulate and exploit others for personal gain. Psychopaths may engage in criminal behavior, but not all psychopaths are criminals, and not all criminals are psychopaths. What is criminality? Criminality, on the other hand, refers to behavior that violates criminal laws and may result in legal consequences. Criminal behavior can be motivated by a variety of factors, including financial gain, revenge, or emotional instability. While psychopathy may increase the likelihood of engaging in criminal behavior, it is not a necessary condition for criminality. Differences between psychopathy and criminality. It's important to recognize the differences between psychopathy and criminality, as these terms are often conflated in popular media. Psychopathy is a personality trait that is often present from an early age and may be difficult to treat. Criminality, on the other hand, is a behavior that can be changed through interventions such as therapy or legal consequences. Understanding the link. While psychopathy and criminality are distinct concepts, there is a link between the two. Studies have found that a higher proportion of incarcerated individuals meet the criteria for psychopathy compared to the general population. However, it's important to note that not all individuals with psychopathy engage in criminal behavior, and not all criminals have psychopathic traits. Research shows that both nature and nurture play a role in psychopathy and criminality. For instance, studies on identical twins have revealed that genetic factors account for about half of the variability in psychopathic traits. Meanwhile, environmental factors, such as childhood trauma, abuse, and neglect, can also contribute significantly to psychopathy and criminality. However, the nature versus nurture debate is far from settled. In recent years, researchers have started to explore how genetic and environmental factors interact to produce these outcomes. For example, a study published in the Journal of Criminal Justice found that the interaction between certain genetic factors and childhood maltreatment can predict the risk of criminal behavior. Another factor that plays a role in this debate is brain development. When it comes to psychopathy and criminality, both genetic and environmental factors have been found to play a significant role. Studies on identical twins, who share 100% of their genetic material, have revealed that genetic factors account for approximately 50% of the variability in psychopathic traits. However, environmental factors such as childhood trauma, abuse, and neglect have also been found to contribute significantly to the development of these traits. One area of research that has gained attention in recent years is the interaction between genetic and environmental factors. Researchers are exploring how certain genetic factors can interact with environmental factors to produce outcomes such as criminal behavior. For example, a study published in the Journal of Criminal Justice found that the interaction between certain genetic factors and childhood maltreatment can predict the risk of criminal behavior. Specifically, the study found that individuals with a particular genetic variant were more likely to engage in criminal behavior if they experienced childhood maltreatment. Another factor that is known to play a role in the nature versus nurture debate in psychopathy and criminality is brain development. Studies have shown that individuals with psychopathic traits have differences in brain structure and function compared to non-psychopaths. For instance, psychopaths have reduced gray matter in the prefrontal cortex, a region associated with decision-making and impulse control. This suggests that there may be a biological basis for the development of psychopathy and criminality. It is worth noting that the nature versus nurture debate in psychopathy and criminality is far from settled, and there is still much that researchers do not understand about how genetic and environmental factors interact to produce these outcomes. However, by continuing to study this complex issue, researchers may be able to develop more effective interventions for individuals at risk of engaging in criminal behavior. Research has shown that the brains of psychopaths and criminals differ from those of non-criminals in several key areas. For example, psychopaths have reduced gray matter in the prefrontal cortex, a region associated with decision-making and impulse control. So, what does all this mean for us? Firstly, it's important to recognize that psychopathy and criminality are complex issues with no easy answers. While some people may be more predisposed to these issues due to genetic or environmental factors, it's never too late to intervene and prevent further harm. One promising approach is early intervention. Studies have shown that early intervention can be effective in reducing the risk of criminal behavior among individuals who are at risk. For instance, a study published in the journal Development and Psychopathology found that early intervention programs aimed at improving parenting skills and reducing family conflict can help prevent the development of conduct problems in children, which are a risk factor for later criminal behavior. Another promising approach is cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, which is a form of talk therapy that focuses on changing negative thought patterns and behaviors. CBT has been found to be effective in reducing the risk of recidivism among individuals who have engaged in criminal behavior. In one study published in the Journal of Consulting and Clinical Psychology, participants who received CBT had a lower rate of recidivism compared to those who received standard care. It's also important to recognize that psychopathy and criminality are not synonymous. Not all individuals with psychopathic traits engage in criminal behavior, and not all criminals are psychopaths. However, addressing psychopathic traits can be an important component of reducing the risk of criminal behavior among individuals who are at risk. Overall, it's clear that psychopathy and criminality are complex issues that require a multifaceted approach. By continuing to study these issues, researchers may be able to develop more effective interventions for individuals who are at risk of engaging in criminal behavior. In the meantime, it's important to recognize the value of early intervention, cognitive behavioral therapy, and other evidence-based approaches for reducing the risk of criminal behavior and promoting positive outcomes. Research has shown that early identification and treatment of psychopathic traits can reduce the risk of criminal behavior. This involves identifying at-risk individuals and providing them with cognitive behavioral therapy, which teaches skills such as emotional regulation and empathy. Another approach is to focus on social and environmental factors that contribute to criminal behavior. For example, reducing poverty, improving access to education and healthcare, and addressing systemic inequalities can all play a role in preventing crime. Research has demonstrated that early identification and treatment of psychopathic traits can be an effective strategy for reducing the risk of criminal behavior. Identifying at-risk individuals and providing them with cognitive behavioral therapy has been found to improve their emotional regulation and empathy skills, reducing the likelihood that they will engage in criminal behavior. In addition to CBT, other forms of therapy, such as family therapy and group therapy, may also be effective in addressing psychopathic traits. However, it's important to recognize that addressing psychopathic traits alone may not be sufficient in reducing the risk of criminal behavior. Social and environmental factors also play a significant role in shaping criminal behavior. For instance, individuals who grow up in poverty may be more likely to engage in criminal behavior due to limited opportunities and exposure to violence. Addressing systemic inequalities and improving access to education and healthcare can help reduce the risk of criminal behavior by providing individuals with the resources they need to succeed. Furthermore, addressing social and environmental factors can also help address underlying issues that contribute to criminal behavior, such as substance abuse and mental health problems. For instance, providing individuals with access to addiction treatment and mental health services can help address the root causes of their criminal behavior. In summary, Reducing the risk of criminal behavior requires a multifaceted approach that addresses both individual and social, environmental factors. Early identification and treatment of psychopathic traits can be effective in reducing the risk of criminal behavior, but addressing systemic inequalities and providing individuals with access to resources such as education, healthcare, and addiction treatment can also play a crucial role. By working together to address these complex issues, we can create a safer and more just society for everyone. In conclusion, the nature versus nurture debate in psychopathy and criminality is a complex issue with no easy answers. While genetics and environment both play a role, there is still much we don't understand about how they interact. However, by recognizing the risk factors and intervening early, we can help prevent further harm and promote positive outcomes. Thank you for watching, and I hope this video has been informative and inspiring. Remember, we all have the power to make a difference, and by working together, we can create a safer and more compassionate society.